everyone, this is Mariana. You are watching a Mexico relocation guide live stream today. Sorry we're a little late. We were having a tiny bit of audio and video problems this morning, but we got it all figured out. So we're going to try kind of a weird workaround since we were having a little bit of an audio and video issue. So just let me know when I ask my guests to join. Let me know if you're having any problems hearing her or seeing her, since she's not going to be on the same screen as me. She's going to be on a separate screen. I'm going to go ahead and share her screen now so you guys can meet my guest. So my guest today is Wendy. Wendy, how are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
Very, very, very good. Let you guys that are watching, please let me know in the comments if you can hear Wendy fine, if you can see her fine. If you are just now joining, there's a button that says live chat. You have to click on that and let me know if you can hear Wendy and see her fine. So Wendy, maybe say a couple of things so people can hear your audio.
Sure. Hi, everybody. I'm Wendy Howard, and I'm here at Lake Chapala, Mexico, and I hope everybody can see me and hear me.
Yep, I can hear and see both of you fine. All is good. Thank you guys so much for joining today. Thank you guys for the feedback. Can hear and see her fine. People are excited to see you, Wendy.
Oh boy, that matters.
You guys are going to learn today all about renting or buying a house in Mexico. Wendy is a very reputable and well-known real estate agent in the Lake Chapala area. She's also one of our recommended real estate agents who can not only help you to find a rental, but also help you in purchasing a home. It just sounds like she is in a tunnel. Yeah, because she's using a completely different software than I am. So it's a weird workaround, I know, trust me. But we're going to make it work. If you guys have never watched a Mexico relocation guide live stream before, the purpose of these live streams is to give you guys all the information and tips, advice you need to know about moving, living, and retiring in Mexico. My name is Mariana. If you've never watched these live streams before, I run Mexico Relocation Guide. And my guest today is Wendy. She is a very well-known, very reputable real estate agent in the Lake Chapala area. She actually moved from the U.S. to Lake Chapala about 8 years ago, Wendy?
About 7.
Okay.
7 years ago.
About 7 years ago. So what made you move to Lake Chapala, for anybody who's wondering?
It was just time to try something different. Explored several different options. Investigated moving to Belize or Costa Rica or Panama, and when I discovered information about the Lake Chapala area, it just sounded too good to be true. Came down and checked it out, and by golly, it was everything everybody said it was. It's just perfect for me. So I moved down here and never regretted it and never even thought about moving back.
You loved it ever since.
Absolutely.
Had you vacationed there before?
Not here in Lake Chapala, no. I've been the tourist places in Mexico. I've been to Puerto Vallarta and Cancun. But came here completely not knowing anything about the area except what I had read about it online. And actually came down specifically looking for a place to retire and ended up making an offer on the house the third day here.
Wow. Now, we normally tell people to rent for at least 6 months to a year before buying a property, just because, you might not know what your neighbors are like. You might not know what the neighborhood is like. You may not love where you live after a few months. But, some people like Wendy. We had another expat also in a live stream previously who bought her house the same week that she made it to Lake Chapala. So some people do end up finding a home that they find is just too good to be true, or too good of a deal to pass up, and they end up buying it, right, Wendy?
Yeah, I find that there's a couple different personality types of people. Some people are happy renting. They don't mind moving, from time to time, but they just want to try out an area and see if they by him. And other people like me, I'm not comfortable renting. I like to have my house and dig my roots in instead. So, depending on what your personality is, suits you may want to rent first. Absolutely. A lot of people do, and a lot of people are happy doing that.
I'm going to include in the comments for all of you guys, if you're wondering about living in Mexico or moving to Mexico, if you're thinking about what the rental market is like, we did a quick analysis. Now, keep in mind, this is just for example purposes only. The rental market can vary a lot from day to day, but I did a quick analysis of the rental market throughout different popular expat cities in Mexico, and I listed just a few rental examples in all budgets. I mean, starting at like $400 a month up to, $2,500 a month. So just so you get an idea of what you could get in Mexico. Now, Wendy, can you give us some insight as to what the rental market is like in Chapala right now, or in Ajijic?
Right now in the area, the rental market is really, really active because this is the time of year when the snowbirds are out. So any rentals that have been available over the last couple of months, people are coming down here and they're renting very quickly. But you're right, the prices do range a lot. I mean, if you just want a nice little studio somewhere, you can get one around $500 a month. If you want, a beautiful 3-bedroom house with a pool and a view of the lake, it's going to cost you more. And it could be, $2,000 for one a month. But everything is in between. I would say the average rental price is probably right around $1,000, maybe $1,200 a month.
You would say that's the average rental price in the Lake Chapala area. Is that for a 1-bedroom? Like, what is that average?
That would probably be a minimum of 2-bedroom, 2-bath. Some would be a 3-bedroom, 3-bath. A nice sort of updated modern home, with all the amenities that expats are looking for. You have your washing and dryers, you have nice appliances, everything. It would be a really nice home similar to a north home. Maybe a small garden. If not a small garden, then you would have a mirror or a rooftop patio.
Yeah, got it. So it's not exactly a tiny place. It would be a comfortable place for a couple, but you're saying the average is about $1,000 a month. Now, how would people, people are always posting or commenting on these Facebook groups for expats, how they were able to find, a 2-bedroom house fully furnished for $600 a month in the Lake Chapala area. Would you say that is common?
No. Some of those posts, they may have found that house several years ago and they stayed there and they were lucky in the landlord, they were raising the rent. But that's not super common to find something at that low budget here right now. Certainly it can happen. If ones that are lower priced like that, you're normally going to find them in an area that's not so quiet. There's, a workshop next door that makes noise, or there's going to be something going on.
Trade-off.
Also with those, sometimes the rent does not include any utilities, or the rent does not include any repairs. So the homeowner would actually expect the renter to take care of any repairs in the house.
So would you say that that's a common question you should ask when looking at your lease to see who's going to take care of any repairs?
Absolutely. Make sure you get a lease in writing, and depending, I'm assuming most people, their native language is English. In order for the lease to be legal, it has to be in the language you understand, in English, and also in Spanish, because that's the official language of Mexico. So the lease has to be in both languages, and make sure it includes everything. Who's responsible for utilities? Who's responsible for repairs? What time of the month do you pay the rent? Do you pay in dollars? Do you pay in pesos? If it's set in pesos, then you need to figure out an exchange rate, because of course that's
Yep.
So every question you can think of should be written in the lease.
I see.
The lease that we write for some of the properties that we manage, we also include that when you move into the apartment or house, you have 15 days to report any problems. And we or the homeowner will take care of those within the first 15 days. After that, any repairs that happen, quite commonly in this area, it's written in the lease that the renter is responsible for the first 900 pesos, or about $45 for repairs. Anything higher is taken care of by the homeowner.
Got it. So if, you know, my toilet lid broke, I'm probably going to have to cover that on my own instead of the homeowner.
Correct. You know, glass in the window breaks, you get it fixed yourself. But if, you know, something major happens, like water heat goes out, the homeowner would be responsible.
But that isn't standard for all rentals in Mexico. That's something that you guys do as a service to your customers.
The 15-day inspection is something that we do with our customers. As far as who's responsible for paying for repairs, most commonly, you know, the homeowner expects the renter to pay for repairs. But through our company, we minimize that to maybe just the first 900 pesos. So, and then after that, I mean, if a person owns a house, like, you know, we believe that they should be responsible for keeping it up.
So there you guys have it. Now, if you guys have any questions about the rental market, about anything regarding rentals or real estate in Mexico, feel free to put it in the live chat. I'll read it out loud for Wendy. But Wendy, what are some questions that people should be asking when they rent a home in Mexico? It doesn't matter if it's in Ajijic or Chapala. What are some questions people should be asking?
Oh gosh, the first one I would say is, you know, when you're looking at a rental, check out the area and don't just go in the middle of the afternoon, check out the house when it's normally quiet. Go back on Friday or Saturday night, the times when people most often have parties. Because especially here, because many of the homes here are owned by people in Guadalajara who use them on the weekends as party retreats. You want to make sure you're not going to be right next door to one of those. So go back and visit maybe on the weekends or talk to the neighbors and see the house several times before you decide on it. Or if you're an agent who's first using the area and can ask those questions for you, which of course is what I recommend people do.
Yeah, so give people some background as to you. Like, how did you become a real estate agent, and maybe, you know, what would be the benefit of them hiring you versus them finding a rental on their own and kind of negotiating that contract on their own?
Well, first of all, I personally have been there for 7 years. I've lived in 4 different towns here in Lake Chapala, so I'm quite familiar with the area. And other people who work for our office, they're actually from this area. They're Mexicans that were born here in Lake Chapala, so we're all very familiar with the area. We don't charge anything to find you a house to either buy or to rent. So our services are free to you. The homeowner contracts our services to find them a renter. So it doesn't cost any more to go to a real estate agent than it does to go out and, you know, walk the streets and find one on your own. So use our knowledge, use our experience. We're very familiar with contract law here. For example, in this state, the state of Jalisco, you're only permitted to raise the rent by 7% a year, no more. And I've heard horror stories of people renting a house, putting a lot of money into moving the house, and then when their lease is up at the end of the year, the homeowner comes in and raises the rent because the house is so much nicer and they can get so much higher rent.
Oh, yeah.
That is common. You know, so it's better to work with somebody like us because we can represent you and we can prevent things like that from happening. We would also advise you not to put a lot of money into improving someone else's home. If you don't own it, you know, I wouldn't spend $10,000 on remodeling your kitchen.
Yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, at the end of the day, you're going to leave that home at some point, want to get your own house, better spend that money in your own place where you're going to get that return on investment, of course.
Correct. Correct. A lot of people live here and they rent and they fall in love with the house and they think they're going to live there forever. And the homeowner may allow you to continue to renew the lease, but at any time that the owner leaves, they won't have to do that.
Dawn has a really good question. I mentioned a toilet cover breaking, and she's like, that's something really small. But for something expensive, if the homeowner doesn't cover it, is rental insurance common? It is available, Dawn, by the way. And in Mexico, you can buy rental insurance. But is it common for people to buy it to cover more expensive repairs?
Not really. Not a lot of people carry insurance, or even people who own homes don't carry a lot of insurance here.
Mm-hmm.
Because the houses here are made of brick and concrete, they don't burn. And so it's just a thing that people don't commonly do. You can get renter insurance on content, absolutely. Or as a homeowner, you can buy homeowner insurance for content.
But what about if something like, let's say the water heater broke, it's something big. Does renter's insurance, in your opinion, and I know you're not an insurance agent, but have you seen renter's insurance come in and cover those things, those repairs, if you're a renter? No.
No, I have not. Normally, how I hear about this is either it happens through somebody who's one of our clients, and so we just teach the owner, please fix the water heater, or property manager, we actually do fix the water heater. But I've heard a lot of stories about people complaining because the homeowner is just not responsive to their needs.
Do people have any protections in Mexico when renting a home if the owner refuses to fix something that is very much their responsibility?
It's pretty unlikely. There is a court system here which actually does protect renters, but the process is so slow. I mean, if you need a water heater, you don't want to be talking to court for a year.
Yeah, you want that fixed right away.
Correct.
So Dawn, to answer your question, and maybe for any, I'm sorry.
Which is another reason, go through the agency, because we, want to take care of you. Of course, we want you to come back and either rent through us again or buy a house through us. So we make sure that your needs are met. We don't want people to be unhappy. We like having those positive people reviews.
Yeah. Dawn, in case somebody had trouble hearing that, what Wendy said was, that's one of the major benefits of having a rental agency like Wendy's, where, they're going to cover you. They're going to make sure that they work in your best interest. Not, they won't cover you, but they're going to make sure the contract covers you and it's in your best interest. So that, and the homeowners that work with Wendy and allow Wendy to manage their properties are aware that they're going to be held responsible for a repair, over 900 pesos. So, they know that going in too, right, Wendy?
Absolutely. And if we're collecting the rent every month and the homeowner's not responsive, we're just going to use the rent money to make the repair, and then, let them know, the rent is so much less this month that you're receiving because we've repaired your house.
What about finding rentals where pets are allowed? Is that pretty common in the Lake Chapala area?
Yes, everybody has a dog.
Yeah.
Or a cat. It's pretty common. There are a few homes where the homeowners just say, I do not want to rent to anybody with pets. It's actually difficult for us to find a renter for that house because everybody has a pet. Most are very pet friendly, and even the homeowners and they don't want pets, oftentimes they can be talked into it, as long as you don't have six together. All dogs, house broken, and well trained, a lot of times we can talk to them into the cat.
Yeah, for anybody who had some trouble hearing that because you broke out a little bit, Wendy, it's very common in the Lake Chapala area for people to have pets. And in fact, she's talking about, homeowners who say, I just really do not want a pet. you can usually negotiate that. It may mean having a higher deposit or maybe something in that contract. I think, Wendy, I think you're frozen. Are you still there? Oh, I think we kind of lost her.
I'm sorry, your audio is breaking up. I'm not hearing you. The audio is breaking up.
Yeah. I'm gonna give you a chance there for your camera to catch up. See if
Can you hear?
not very good. Sorry, guys. Never fails that I have some technical issues when I do live streams. Whenever I have Zoom calls, nothing ever happens. I can hear you. Maybe, is there another place in your office where you have better reception? Sorry about that, guys. Yeah, Debbie says the internet has been having issues in this area. Yeah, I know. What? We may have to cut this one short because I know this isn't a good experience for anybody. Let me see if I can get Wendy to rejoin. Oh, there you are.
Okay, we switched a couple different internets in the office, so I can switch them.
Yeah, Debbie, who is obviously a local resident, is saying that they've been having a lot of internet issues in the area. Yeah, we're aware, Debbie. Thank you. But anyway, this is Mexico. It is common. I know in the Lake Chapala area, and this may be a little bit related to finding a rental, Wendy, internet can be completely different in one neighborhood than the other. Am I right?
Yeah, internet is a big issue here. It's getting better. Over the last year, we've had more and more providers coming in with fiber optic internet, but it is an issue here, and it can vary widely from house to house. You know, one house can have great internet, and the one right next to it does not. So if the internet is important, a lot of people, you know, need it for their work. You know, that's a very important question to ask. So like, who is the internet provider and how good is the internet? And if it's got enough download speed.
Are there specific neighborhoods that you recommend people who may still be working while living down there look into?
No.
Okay.
Not really. The fiber optic coming in is so new that they're basically hooking up houses as people request service. So it's not necessarily a neighborhood. It's, you know, the homeowner is contracted to have the service installed.
Yeah.
It's also something you can do as a renter if the internet is available at that house. You know, you can either ask the homeowner or pay yourself to have it installed so you can have a more reliable connection.
Which I have seen a lot of people do that, you know, just either maybe even upgrading from the current megabyte per second download and upload speed to a higher plan and then just working that out with the homeowner to pay for that service directly.
Correct, and it's very inexpensive here. Your basic internet plan with, let's say, 25 megabyte download speed is under 400 pesos a month, which is about $20. You can upgrade to more speed for 600 something gig, which is about $30.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not expensive at all.
Yeah, completely inexpensive if you compare it to maybe other, you know, countries and cities where internet can be really expensive.
Correct.
Yeah.
And a lot of people too, if you need reliable internet, do like we do here at the office, we actually have 2 providers. So when one of them starts getting glitchy, we just switch over to the other provider and we can continue with our work.
Yep. And that's completely different from city to city. I don't want anybody watching thinking, you know, that all of Mexico is like that. It just depends fully on the city that you're planning on relocating to. Like, for example, you know, Mexico City has amazing internet because, and that even varies from neighborhood to neighborhood, of course.
Exactly. Guadalajara is 45 minutes from here, and their internet is, light years ahead of what we have here. But we're a small, community, a little more rural, and it's just taking time for, more modern things to reach us.
Yep, absolutely. One question I have that I see a lot is, these rents always include, and we'll get away from the rental process in a few minutes. We're going to start talking about, what the buying process is like, but I just want to make sure I cover my ground on renting. When people rent, I see a lot of, especially on Facebook Marketplace, people include electricity, water, gas, internet. Would you say that that's pretty typical in this area? And if so, is there a cap on the amount that is actually included, or is it kind of like all in?
When that happens, it's usually pretty much all in. I have had one or two homeowners say they will pay the electricity up to a certain amount. But generally, when everything's included, that means everything's included. Utilities are not expensive here, and sometimes it's just easier for the homeowner to continue to pay them every month than it is to, try to collect from the renter and just pay the utility company.
I see. What do most landlords ask for the, the tenant? Can you go over the application process and then also maybe some deposits?
The application process here is a little bit difficult because most people don't have contacts here and most people don't have a credit history in Mexico.
Yep.
So it's pretty much, we get copies of ID, we get copies of passports, we get home address and everything, and then just sit down and talk to people, try to get a feel for who they are. But because people don't have a credit history here in Mexico, it's very common to ask for 3 months worth of rent and payment when you sign up to rent a house. The first month, the last month, and then 1 month rent as security deposit. It would be a little bit different, I think, if people actually had a credit history that we could check, but they don't.
Yeah. What about somebody who doesn't have a residency and is just a tourist? Does that matter?
No, it doesn't matter at all. Whether renting or buying, you can buy a house or rent a house on just a tourist visa.
And who do they pay those 3 months deposit? Is that managed by you?
Depending, we offer different levels of services. For some homes, we are only contracted to find a renter. So the 3 months work goes to the homeowner. But others, we're actually the property managers, and so the 3 months worth of rent comes to us, and then the last month's rent and the security deposit are in our escrow account.
I see. So you do have an escrow account that basically the company manages, and that's where you can pay those deposits from to the landlord.
Absolutely.
Or landlady.
Yes.
So just one more question about renting. Is it pretty typical, or maybe not typical, but if somebody was just coming to check out the area on a 6-month tourist visa, what is the likelihood that they could find a rental for, 4, 6 months?
Pretty common.
Okay.
It's pretty common. A lot of people come down here to snowbird. One thing I do want to say is, though, I often get inquiries and people say, well, I'm thinking about coming down there in September of 2022, and, what rentals do you have that I can reserve? And it doesn't work that way. The best time to look for a rental is starting maybe just a few weeks before you're actually going to plan to come down. Because the rental market is in such flux. People moving in, people moving out, and because we are an expat community, unfortunately, people dying.
Oh, yeah.
Day to day, we don't know the houses are going to be available on the market, and it's pretty impossible to book them for a month or maybe 6 weeks in advance.
Unless you want to start paying for rent with a, vacant house.
Correct.
Yeah, but it's unlikely that you'll know what's going to be available 3 months from now or 5 months from now.
Absolutely.
Is it pretty typical for a rental to be rented that same day if it's put on the market?
Not that same day, but oftentimes within a week or two.
Yeah. And you said especially right now because there's a lot of snowbirds. So is there a better season for people to start looking for a rental if they're more flexible?
Well, when the snowbirds leave, which is right about Easter time, right before the hot season, that's usually when a lot of rentals open up. That's usually an opportunity for people who are renting here. Let's say you come down and you can't find the perfect house, but you do find a house to rent and live in. As soon as the snowbirds leave, start shopping around for a rental that you like better and switch.
Good tip. So you could actually find something for maybe 3-4 months. Let's say you get there in December and then wait until, the snowbirds leave and see if what comes up available in the market. See if it's a better option if you're not in love with where you're living.
Right. Yeah. Our long-term residents here, it's usually April, May, June. They all start, say leapfrog, switching from half rental to rental, and taking what they really like. And if they're lucky, they make friends with one of the snowbirds, and they like that house, so they know exactly when you're leaving, so they can get that house.
That's what I love about Mexico is, all these houses come not only furnished, but like beautifully furnished. And each one has its own character. Each one has its own charm. They're very different one from another. So why not? If you're flexible enough, why not? Why not change it up? Change your four walls every now and then. Unless, you really like to be in one place for a long time.
Some of these rentals have some gorgeous art on the walls, and they come fully furnished with all of your kitchen appliances, all of your linens, everything you need. Basically, all you need is your suitcase and a toothbrush, and you can move in and live your life comfortably.
Yeah, good point. So linens, dishes, silverware. These are all things that are usually equipped inside of the home. Like they're really furnished.
Absolutely.
Now, if somebody was thinking about buying a house, would you mind going over the process? It is very different than Canada and the U.S. So would you mind sharing that process?
Yeah. Of course, after you look around and you find the house that you want to make an offer on, you make the offer. If you accept it, I recommend everyone get a homeowner's inspection, even if it's a brand new house, because construction here in Mexico is a little bit different than construction north of the border, so you want to check everything out. The 10% deposit is to hold the house until we go to closing. It actually takes the real estate company. It's not common in Mexico to have escrow accounts. So the real estate companies here, we have our own escrow accounts so that people can feel safe about where their money is going. So there's some paperwork that needs to be filled out. It's basically just a form asking permission from the Mexican government as a foreigner to own a house here in Mexico. And they're always moving, so it's just a formality. And then we go to closing. But you can buy a home here with a tourist visa or a residency visa. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, because you're not in a restricted zone. You don't need a special type of corporation or special type of bank trust or anything like that. You can buy it completely under your name.
Yeah, it's a little bit different for us here because if you buy within 50 kilometers of the Atlantic Pacific coast or 50 kilometers of the border, the house does need to be put in a trust.
Mm-hmm.
And it's held with the bank, and I think they're 99-year trust. And you own the house, but you own it through the trust. But because we're not in a border area and because we're not on the coast, then you actually will receive your deed in your name.
Yeah. So just to reiterate that, if you were thinking of moving, let's say, to Mazatlan, and you wanted to buy a house on the beach, you could buy that home, but you wouldn't own it directly in your name. You would have to open up a special type of bank trust called a fideicomiso or a corporation, and then that corporation actually owns that home, or that bank trust owns that home. You are the assignee or beneficiary of that trust, but you don't actually own it in your name. And what Wendy's talking about is because the Lake Chapala area is not anywhere near a coastal area, it's not within 50 kilometers of a coastal area or a border, you can own it directly under your name.
Correct.
So escrow, oh, sorry.
The ones that are in a deed to the Fideo Commiso, the bank is usually a bank that holds that for you. There is an annual fee for them to hold the trust.
Yeah.
But that's not the case here.
Yeah. And if you're interested in that whole buying process, we really do recommend working with a real estate agent that not only is able to speak your language, but understands the process. So Wendy is very reputable. She's been very busy this week. She's been selling houses left and right. So she's very, very, yeah, she's shaking her head like, yes.
I've been so busy. It's great.
Yeah, it is great. She's nodding her head. Yeah, she is very busy. Somebody wants to know, Wendy, are real estate agents or brokers licensed in Mexico?
No.
Yeah.
And that's one reason why check references and go with somebody that you're very, very comfortable with. Now, I was licensed when I did real estate in the States years ago. But here in Mexico, it's not required. I mean, you can wake up one morning and say, I want to be a real estate agent. Find a client, show them how, and work as a real estate agent. It's very scary, and people don't have to disclose things like they do north of the border. They don't have to answer your questions honestly like they do north of the border, because there's no recourse later. So it's really important to work with somebody that you trust and that you feel has a good reputation, and absolutely check out their references.
Yeah, very important, which is why I really want to reiterate, we include only reputable, vetted, recommended real estate agents in our Mexico relocation course. We give you access to a Rolodex of preferred contacts in Mexico, throughout Mexico, not only in the Lake Chapala area. We have them in the Riviera Maya, which is Tulum, Playa del Carmen, Cancun, Cozumel. We have them in San Miguel de Allende, Lake Chapala, Mazatlan. We have them in Baja California. We have them in Guadalajara. We have them all over the place. And the reason I reiterate that is a lot of people don't realize that not doing their due diligence can really cost them a lot of money. I've heard horror stories of people giving their real estate agent their escrow or their deposit and never seeing that person again. Yeah, you want to say something?
And a lot of people think that they can save money by going out and shopping on their own and looking for signs, for sale by owner. But then I hear horror stories about, things that we would have warned them about, like, make sure that any staff is paid their those so you don't inherit that debt, to make sure that there's no liens against the property before you buy it. That's part of what we do, is to make sure that you get a good, clear title. You don't buy a house with any debt. That's part of what we do.
Great point. Can you go into that? Because that's actually something very different in Mexico than in the U.S. Having staff, like for example, a gardener or a house cleaner that you owe a year's worth of salary to, or maybe even less, you inherit that debt if that person hasn't been paid. Am I right?
Correct. The debt goes with the home.
Yeah.
So you must make sure that the maid or the gardener has been paid their severance pay, which is what we call north of the border. Then the keep those, what it's called here. But you want to make sure that they've paid. They've signed a letter saying that they have been paid, they're happy, and they have no more, recourse against that house.
Yeah, huge. I mean, even if it's only a couple $1,000, that's a couple $1,000 that you didn't think or budget into your amount that you would have to pay. So very important for you to know that process. It's all included in the online course, but obviously our recommended real estate agent in Lake Chapala, Wendy, also knows that process really well. So log in and find her contact information if you're interested in the Lake Chapala area. Now, somebody wants to know if, as a foreigner, what are the chances that they can get a mortgage in Mexico as a resident foreigner?
Not very good because you don't have a credit history in Mexico. So you can't go and apply for a loan. And even if you did get a loan here, the interest rates are extremely high. There are a few people in a few countries that offer private loans, but again, the interest rates are quite high. Most of the houses here, 99% of the houses here are paid in full at closing.
And when you say interest rates are high, what do you mean by that? Can you give us a percentage range?
I know some people who got a loan and it was 1% per month.
1% of the value of the house?
Correct.
Okay.
1% of the value of the home per month. So it was a 12%.
Wow, yeah, that is high.
Yes.
Yeah, that is high.
Yeah.
How do people, if you were to go sell a home, how do you as a realtor come up with the, fair pricing of that house? Since there isn't really an MLS and you're not able to see, what other houses are going for, or maybe what other houses do comparables like we're used to in the United States or in Canada. How do you go about that in Mexico?
It is difficult because in most neighborhoods, there are a few subdivisions where the houses are relatively similar, and so we can look at what's sold recently, maybe the differences in the house, and then try to come up with a fair market value. But in a lot of the neighborhoods, the houses side by side are so very different from each other, but it is hard to find comparables. We recommend if we as real estate agents and the homeowner don't agree on what a good listing price for the house is, we recommend that they hire a professional who's one of several, but the one we usually use is an architect from Guadalajara, who's been doing property appraisals here for a long time, and someone down and give us an appraisal.
I see. So you have an external person who will come and walk through the home, look at the finishes, look at the year it was built, the condition it's in, and give you an appraisal based on that.
Correct. He assesses the value of the lot itself, how much it would cost to construct a similar house. He's got all the data, and he can come up usually with a pretty fair asking price for a house.
And that's something that you would offer as part of your process if somebody were to sell their home through you?
Yeah, that's something that we do is if we cannot agree on a listing price, then we do recommend that they have the appraisal done. Another thing that can vary from house to house is a lot of the houses here are fully furnished. So that can help adding to the price. Plus whether or not the house has a beautiful view of the lake, or if it's in a convenient location, or if it has a swimming pool. So there's a lot of variables that need to be taken in mind.
Yeah, of course. Is it pretty common for you to get an idea of what, like from the previous owner, to get a copy of things like, utility bills, and when you're going through the buying process, to get an idea of what your monthly expenses are going to be?
Oh, absolutely. Actually, for a homeowner to claim capital gains or exemption when they sell a house, they have to present 3 months worth of electric bills. So we normally get those right off the bat each when we have the house listed. Of course, utility usage varies a lot from owner to owner. Some people are high utility users, some people are less.
Sure.
It is pretty easy. We give the houses within a subdivision or a fraction info. We can tell them what the homeowner association fees are every month, what they can expect to spend on utilities, gas, electric, what the annual taxes are, which is incredibly low here in Mexico. But we tell people that even before they make the offer on the house, they want that information.
Now, when you go to closing, and like from the minute that you start the process of putting in an offer, that offer is accepted, and then going to closing, how long is that process generally? I know this is only a generality.
Normally 30 days.
Okay.
If Notario is a lawyer here that specializes in dealing in real estate, and the Notarios are the ones that handle the closing process here. If they're backed up, it might be 6 weeks, or if they happen to have a slow time and we can get all the paperwork ready, it could be as little as 2 weeks. But the normal is about 30 days.
Let's talk about that a little bit, because I read a lot of conflicting information that, you know, some real estate companies really recommend that you have a notario, which is a real estate, or not a real estate, they're a lawyer, and they also recommend that you have a real estate lawyer. So what, in your opinion, what do you guys normally recommend?
It's unusual in this area for someone to have an individual attorney because the notarios do the check on the house to make sure that there's no leads, you get a clear title, and that's part of what they get paid for doing the closing. So I don't really personally see the need for having an additional real estate attorney.
When do you normally see an additional need to have a real estate attorney?
Pardon?
When do you normally see the need for people to have a real estate attorney?
There may be cases where there's an issue with the deed. Just recently, we had a case where a woman was trying to sell a house. It had gone through probate.
Oh.
She from her parents, there was an issue with getting clear title on the house. Or some houses may have a lien against them. You may want to get an attorney involved then just to make sure that everything is good and you're getting the house without any encumbrance on it.
What about seller financing? Is that pretty common in Mexico for the seller to finance the home to you?
It is not common at all. It does happen on occasion. Usually it would be a short-term finance, like they'd allow you to move in the home and, you know, go to closing within a year or 2 years. But that's not very common here.
Yeah. Would you mind sharing what the role of the notario is in the whole process?
The notario handles all of the legal documentation. They make sure that you sign what's called an SRE, which means you get permission from the government to buy property here. They do a title check. They check to make sure, you know, everything is good with the documentation on the house. And the person who's actually selling you the house is actually the owner of the house. They also take care of the tax documents for the seller if they're claiming any exemptions from capital gains, or if they have to pay capital gains to the Mexican government.
I see. Now, for you guys that may not know who a notario is, it's basically, or the translation, the official translation is a notary, but they're very different than a public notary in the U.S. A notario in Mexico has to be a lawyer. They have to have, I believe, Wendy, 5 years of training?
Yes.
At least 5 years as a lawyer. They need to pass a very hard exam. And they hold one of the highest positions in all of Mexico in the court system. They manage real estate transactions, meaning they actually present the paperwork to the court, file it as it is actually yours. And without a notario actually signing off on you being the owner, it does not get put into the court system as you being the owner. So you wouldn't actually own that home unless a notario presents it to the court and says that you are the faithful owner of that house. So they are.
Correct. From the time you go to the closing until you actually, the notario will take the deed and they'll file it at the municipal courthouse. And with the municipal records, usually it's about a 3-month process before you actually get the deed back in your hand.
3-month process after the closing for you to get the title.
Yes.
Is there typically title insurance?
Not that I know of here, at least not in this area. There is no title insurance. Everything, you rely on the competency of the notario that you choose to use.
Very.
There's half a dozen notarios here in the Lake Chapala area, as well as dozens in Guadalajara, close by, and the buyers want to use based on reputation and trust because it's the notario's job to check the title.
Yeah. So we actually do have a list of recommended notarios across Mexico as well, who also speak English. Very important that you know, or that you work with somebody also that speaks in your language, because again, you know, the official language in Mexico is Spanish. As much as we would like to believe that in Lake Chapala it's English, but it's actually Spanish. And and the notario will actually translate the paperwork for you, or a good one will actually help translate the paperwork for you.
Absolutely, and most states, of course, not the title because that's an official Mexican document, that's in Spanish, but almost all paperwork in the notarial office should receive a copy in both English and Spanish. Even the notarials here handle doing a will, and you'll receive your will in both English and Spanish.
Very important for you to know also, if you want to avoid probate in Mexico, you should absolutely have a will. And in September, it's a will month, so they actually give you up to like 50% off, I believe, to write a will.
It varies from notario to notario. One of the ones that we recommend here, if you have your closing in their office, they actually offer you a 50% discount year round.
Oh, that's awesome.
But for most, it is the month of September where you can get your will done for half price.
Yeah, that's great. So there you go. Ask your notario at closing, you know, can they actually help you, or can they include writing a will for you, and can they give you a deal?
Right. In Mexico, you can actually write in your deed, designated beneficiary, but it has to be a direct line relative. It has to be a parent or a spouse or a son or daughter or grandchild. You can't leave it to custody. But you can do that right in your deed. One will leave your house. If you pass away to anyone else, you have to have a Mexican will, or it's going to go through probate and it's going to be expensive, very time consuming.
So in your opinion, having that person in the deed, if it's a direct relative of yours, will also avoid probate in Mexico?
Yes. Yes.
Got it. Okay.
It will. But this is kind of detailed, but let's say a husband and wife buy a house, the deed is in both names. If the husband dies, he leaves the house to the wife, and if the wife dies, her assets to the husband. If one of them passes away, you have 6 months to transfer the deed entirely into the survivor's name. Otherwise, it goes to probate. So you have to do that within 6 months.
Okay. Wow. Very important. So you have to keep that in mind when you're in the grieving process also.
Yeah, and it's one of the many things that when people buy a home here, it's one of the many things that we tell them, because people need to have this knowledge going in. Don't wait until you need to have the knowledge. You need to know it right up front.
Yeah. So get yourself a good real estate agent that not only knows the area really well, but is going to be your educator and is going to help guide you through that process. Because there's a lot of similarities in Mexico in buying and renting a home, but there's also a lot of differences, and not knowing those differences can cost you a lot of money. Wendy, what are some common mistakes that people make when buying real estate in Mexico? In your opinion, like what are maybe some ways that people can avoid them?
Oh gosh, many people buying real estate, they don't check out the area first, and so they buy a house they're not quite happy with, or they don't have a home inspection, and so they end up purchasing a home that needs repairs that they didn't realize they were going to need. Another big mistake people make is you can buy a home in Mexico as a tourist. That is not a problem. But if you sell the home, you need to have either a permanente visa or a temporal visa to avoid capital gains. If you sell property in Mexico on a tourist visa, it's going to be subject to capital gains tax. You cannot claim the resident exemption.
Correct. And you actually need to apply for your RFC in order for you to be able to get that capital gain. So it's not automatic. There is a process for it. We also detail it in the online course, but you need to apply for that RFC. Somebody wants to know, Wendy, and by the way, I'm going to ask this question, but I do want you to know that Wendy is not an immigration attorney, and she is a real estate agent. So I'm going to ask you a question, but feel free to, just give your opinion.
Okay.
She wants to know, she wants to get a temporary visa through real estate. Does it have to be one property to qualify, or can it be a couple of properties?
To qualify financially?
To qualify financially.
No, if you own property in Mexico, that does help qualify financially to get your temporary visa, and it can be more than one home. Okay. As far as I know.
Yeah, and again, Wendy is not an immigration attorney. That is really a question you should be asking an immigration expert. But you have seen some people that buy real estate with the ends of also being able to qualify for temporary residency.
Correct. Some people don't have the monthly income or required to qualify for residency, but after they own a home, then it helps. It gives added advantage. But that also is very much different from consulate to consulate.
Yep.
Some are very, very strict, some are very, very lenient, and so you almost, if you're not sure if you're going to qualify or not, you kind of need to shop around which consulate is done for being easier.
Absolutely. And all of our immigration facilitators and attorneys in the online course, they can give you that information, tell you which consulates you'll be able to qualify at based on your monthly income, your savings, permanent versus temporary, real estate or not. Real estate is only a qualifier for temporary residency, by the way. So one last question, because I know we're topping the hour here, Wendy, and I appreciate you so much for taking this time. What are the risks of buying a new construction?
A new construction? New constructions are great. I mean, I recommend buying new construction. It's a little bit risky. I don't recommend buying reconstruction.
Okay.
Sometimes they'll be putting in a complex for an apartment building, and they want you to buy in, build it in the future.
Mm-hmm.
There have been cases where, they collect a certain amount of money, they start a little bit of construction, and then nobody sees them ever again.
Yeah. So what Wendy is talking about is you'll see sometimes, especially, I've seen this especially in beach areas, where, they're promising to build these like very luxurious condos, beachfront, all these amenities. You just pay a deposit now. You're basically funding the builder's project. And then, and then once the condo is finished, and they're giving you a kind of introductory price. So they're saying you're going to buy it at a deal versus, what will be available to the market once we're done with construction. But what Wendy's talking about is you got to be very careful with projects like those, because some people have paid their deposit and then construction is never finished. And there's nothing really you can do about it.
Yeah, and along the same lines, a lot of people will buy land and want to build their own home, which is great if you are here and you can oversee the project.
Yeah.
But there have been occasions where people buy a piece of land, they hire a contractor, they give the person a great deal of money to get started on the house, and the house never gets built. The contractor just takes off the money.
Yeah, that's so unfortunate.
If you're to build a home, I don't recommend that you do that.
Yeah. Again, doing your due diligence and going with builders that have a reputation, or going with contractors that have a reputation, real estate agents and brokers that have a reputation, is the key in Mexico, to save you time, to save you money, and to be educated along the way so that, you don't get taken advantage of. That's really important.
It basically comes down with, if you were doing it in the U.S., don't do it here. It's sad that sometimes people tend to leave their common sense at the border. Yeah. Everyone is so warm and so friendly and so nice that they think that you can trust everyone, and you can't. Just don't leave your common sense at the border. Bring it with you.
Yeah, you can definitely trust Wendy. I do want to say that. She's very, very well known in the area.
I'm probably more honest than as prudent.
that's why she wins people's trust, and that's why word of mouth gets around, and left and right you'll see her name being posted in a lot of Facebook groups. So thank you, Wendy, for taking your time, taking your afternoon. Are you going to be celebrating Day of the Dead this weekend?
Absolutely. Oh, it's so much fun. There's I happen to have a horse here, and there's a group of us who are gonna paint our faces like Katrina, get in costume, and ride horses.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Send me pictures.
I will.
Wendy is actually an avid horse rider. She brought, how many did you bring from the U.S.?
I only brought one.
Okay.
But once you get involved with the equine community here, it's easy to make a lot of friends. Both expats and Mexican nationals, and we have a good time.
That's so awesome.
It's a great way to see Mexico. If you rent a horse and just ride up around the mountains, you'll see things that you don't see in your car.
Yep, that's exactly right. So I want to thank you guys for tuning in today. We're going to be doing more live streams like this where I interview a professional who shares their expertise in their niche area, like Wendy does with real estate. Wendy is one of our recommended real estate contacts in our Mexico relocation course. So make sure that you check that out. If you haven't bought the Mexico relocation course, go to our website. I'm going to post it on the comments here. Just post it on the comments. Go to this website and check out our Mexico relocation course. It includes everything you'd need to know about living and retiring in Mexico. Plus, we give you access to our recommended contacts. And we also have some private relocation tour guides that can take you and be boots on the ground, right? Show you what it's actually like to be in places like Ajijic and Lake Chapala. So thank you, Wendy, again, for taking this time.
Oh, thank you. This was fun. I hope it was helpful. And I just say, if you're thinking about retirement in Mexico, come on down. You won't regret it. The people say their biggest regret is that they didn't do it.
There you go. You only have one life, right? So if that's been your dream.
Right. Absolutely.
People want to thank you, Wendy. They're chatting in. Thank you so much. Important information. Thank you so much for your time. So I know you can't see this, but I'm letting you know people are chatting and telling you thank you.
Oh, well, you're very welcome, Denata.
Have fun tonight, and we'll talk soon.
Okay, thank you.
Bye, everybody.